Iready Practice and Problem Solving, page 221 to 222. The first thing I want to do is I want to look at number 4 at the bottom. So it says the United States Capitol Rotunda is a circular room located in the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. The radius of the room is 48 feet. What is its circumference? Well, the circumference formula that we need to use is the one that involves radius. There's two. There's pi d, and then we also have 2 pi r. So I would choose to use this one because it involves radius, and that's what we've been given, the radius. You have to know what radius is. Radius is halfway across the center of the circle, from the center to the outside edge. So, if we have this circle that's the rotunda, and from the center to the outside edge is 48 feet, we want to know the distance around the outside of this circle that I have marked in yellow. So, the outside is C. Pi, well, we would put 2, and then pi would be 3.14. And then in red, I'm going to put the 48 because that's the radius. And if you look, I've plugged in each item from our formula. Now, it's just a matter of calculating it. So, 3.14 doubled is 6.28. And then that times 48. Well, then I'd probably just grab my calculator to do that calculation. And when you multiply that out, you get that the circumference is 301.44. So, that gives me my circumference. I also want to put the unit. That's important. And notice that it's feet. It's running feet, right? It's like on Lucy's hoop when I put the rope around it. It's the distance around the outside. So now let's look at this. Number 5. It says, Privet has a clock with a minute hand that extends to the clock's edge. The minute hand is 5.25 inches long. What is the circumference of the clock? Again, the circumference is this outside edge. There's two formulas. Circumference is pi diameter, or circumference is 2 pi r. And since I've been given radius clearly, because it's only showing halfway across the clock, I need to do this one. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to plug in C equals 2 times 3.14, and then I'm going to plug in my radius, 5.25. Again, when I double 3.14, I get 6.28. And then I'm just going to throw this in my calculator at this point. So circumference is going to give me, and what I get is 32.97. It did not ask us in problem 5 to round or anything. So I would put that whole decimal at this point. And notice how you have to watch this too. They tell you what to use for pi. Because remember, pi is irrational. It's an approximation. So just be aware that you're going to run into things like that. Let's look at number 7. Andrea built a circular barbecue pit with a circumference of 9 feet. She wants a rod to go across the pit to use for a rotisserie. The rod must go from one end of the pit to the other, passing through its center to the nearest foot. How long must the rod be? Now this one, we do need to know because they said to the nearest foot. So, I like to draw pictures. So here's my barbecue pit. It's circular. And she wants a rod to go across the pit through its center to make the rotisserie. So I'm going to draw my rod, and there's my center. And the information I have is this. The red part is 9 feet. So that means that if I took a rope and went across this, around this circle, the outside of it, that rope would be 9 feet. So circumference equals pi d is the formula I would choose to use here. The reason I would use this is because I've been given the diameter. If it's going all the way across the circle through its center, is the diameter. So I've been given 9 for the circumference, 3.14 for pi times the diameter. Well, how do I get what diameter is? Well, I need to get rid of the 3.14 that's with the diameter. Right now, this equation means 3.14 times the diameter. The opposite of multiply is divide, so all I've got to do is say 9 divide 3.14. Now, when I put that in my calculator, I get 2.86624,204. So, remember how it said to the nearest foot. So when I round this thing, it's going to round to 3 feet. 3 feet would be your correct answer. Number 8 is an interesting question. It says, is the relationship between the diameter of a circle and the circumference a proportional relationship? Explain why or why not. If you'll remember in class, the day I demonstrated this, I had lots of different circles, didn't I? And also on the Lucy video with her hoop, it doesn't matter what size circle it is. It could be this size or this size or this size. If I take a rope and go across the diameter 3 times and a little more, it's going to give me the distance around the outside of this circle, the circumference. So what that calculates to mathematically is that your circumference divided by the diameter is going to give you pi. We proved pi, 3.14. It's going to go 3 and a little more every time you go across the diameter. So that is where that relationship comes from. So the answer is yes. And what they've written here in the teacher's edition to explain that, let me look. It says, this is number 8. Possible explanations. For any circle, the ratio C over D is pi. So the relationship is proportional. The constant of proportionality is pi. So in other words, remember we talked about ratios they are comparing two numbers using division. So that's why that works. The last question on this worksheet, it says the radius of the Earth is about 6,371 kilometers, and the radius of the Moon is about 1,737 kilometers. Which ratio is closest to the ratio of the circumference of the Moon to the circumference of the Earth? So remember how I said a ratio is a comparison of two numbers to division? You would want to put the Moon on top of your fraction and the Earth on bottom. Well, I have to find the circumference of each one, and then I can make a comparison. So circumference, in this case, well, let's do this. A picture's 1,000 words, right? The Earth is obviously bigger because it says that the radius of the Earth is 6,371 and the radius of the Moon is 1,737. So I want to use the radius formula, 2 pi r. So I'm going to say 2 times 3.14, then times 6,371. Over here, I'm going to say 2 times 3.14 times 1,737. So this will give me Earth. and this will give me the moon. So then it's simply just putting it in the calculator. I already know that this is 6.28 because I have to double it so many times, right? Because that's a constant. So then I type it in my calculator, 6371. This gave me 40,009.88. Then this one times 1,737 gave me 10,908.36. So I'm just going to drop these decimals off and round. I'm going to round to the whole here. So the Earth is 40,010. That 8 would make that 9 go up. So anyway, and here I would keep it the same, 10,908. So now all I've got to do is figure out which one of these fractions is the closest in decimal form to this one. So the fraction bar means to divide, of course. So I'm going to say 10,908 divided by 40,010. 10,908 divided by 40,010, and I got this answer, 0.27263,184. Now I'm going to do 13 divided 50. 13 divided by 50, and my calculator gives me 0.26. And that's a terminating decimal. There's no numbers that follow it. Then 21 divided by 80, that gave me another one, 0.2625. 28 divide 101. Now this one gave me, it looks like a repeating decimal, 0.27722772. So it's rational, it looks like. And then 27 divide 96, and I get 0.28125. The answer that is closest to this is C, 28 over 101.